Hello and welcome to our research project, which is tentatively entitled Assessing Institutional Effectiveness in Inclusive Excellence, a Text Analytic Approach. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Richard Gruss. I'm in the Davis College of Business. I specialize in text analytic approaches to management problems. My partner on this project is Jeremy Wojdak from the Artist College of Science and Technology, who is a biologist but has a strong interest in approaches to teaching that are especially effective. So what we're doing in this is our main goal is to build a software tool that will allow university administrators to automatically analyze syllabus collections. So universities collect syllabi from instructors, and most of the time they just keep them somewhere, file system or some kind of library, and don't necessarily do anything with them because these things can grow pretty quickly. Radford, for example, has over 9,000 syllabi in their collection. With the new semester coming, we're going to have even more. And these just go back to 2013 when they started collecting them. So we're dealing with a large collection here, and there isn't really a good way to go through it all. It's too labor intensive. So what we are trying to do is to do some automatic text processing that can convert this big mound of unstructured text into something useful. Okay, and so what we want to be able to do is to allow somebody, university president or a director of some program, to ask a question like, well, how well are we doing as an institution in implementing certain teaching practices? Okay, and rather than having to deal with this, which is unwieldy, we want to be able to condense it and visualize it, summarize it, aggregate it, or whatever, in a way that is a lot more user-friendly and a lot more effective for making kind of decisions. So the actual teaching construct that we're interested in this project is called inclusive excellence. Now, this is actually a combination of two things. The word inclusive modifies the word excellence. So here's what this is. So we've got certain approaches to teaching that are known to be good, effective. Students learn a lot when you do these things. And so these are things like project-based learning and active learning, peer teaching, providing a variety of assessments, encouraging interaction, and creating an environment where students feel comfortable to take risks and ask questions and things like that. So these are things well known to be part of teaching excellence. But there are also other efforts that are important, for the community, for the country, for everything. And that is this idea of inclusivity. And inclusivity is an active, ongoing, intentional engagement with diversity. Okay, there's lots of different kinds of people in the world, and we're only, just now discovering how important it is to try to get contributions from everybody, and the best way to do that. And so, we're dealing with individual differences, that is, different personalities, learning styles, different life experiences, maybe different ages, as well as group differences. So there's race differences, class, gender, and politics. And so there are efforts to, try to reach out to these, underrepresented groups, but treating that as some kind of isolated endeavor apart from this idea of pursuing excellence is not really the right way to do it. So what inclusive excellence involves is this idea that there are certain practices that pursue both goals at the same time. That is, they're known to be beneficial for students in general, and they improve the quality of the education. But then they also promote inclusivity. So inclusive excellence then is really the integration of quality and diversity efforts. Okay, so what this project wants to do then, so getting back to this diagram, we want to have a software tool that will be able to answer a question like, how well are we doing implementing inclusive excellence? So So again, we've got all these documents. We want to have some kind of way of automatically processing them and then give us the answer. Is it widespread? Is it concentrated in some departments? Is it going up? Is it going down? These things we can't answer right now, not without a huge time commitment. And, then we're dealing with like subjectivity problems. Okay. So this is what we're trying to do. And it's going to take some effort. But the first thing that we had to do was to try to clarify exactly what we mean by the construct. So in research, you have these concepts that you call your constructs. And in order to fully define what you mean by that construct, you sometimes have to break it down into sub-elements that are called dimensions. So what we've done is identified a certain paper that did exactly this. It took the construct of inclusive excellence and broke it down into these five dimensions. Okay, so this inclusive excellence involves all five of these. So it involves, and I'll go into each of these in detail in a minute. Intrapersonal awareness, interpersonal awareness, curricular transformation, inclusive pedagogy, and an inclusive learning environment. Okay, so what we want to do is look for each of these five things in the syllabus so that we can say, okay, this syllabus includes elements of inclusive pedagogy, or this syllabus includes lots of interpersonal awareness and so forth. Okay. So again, before we can have the computer understand what we're looking for, we need to make sure that we understand what we're looking for. So just to go into some of these definitions here. So intrapersonal awareness. Oh, and by the way, these are all defined in the article by Salazar, which I have sent you. This is Salazar. Okay. And in particular, you'll find the definitions of these in table 12.1. Okay, so this paper was our guideline, and that's so right here. So this is the Salazar paper. That's page 1 there, and then over here on table 12.1 is the table, and this is the paper that goes into detail on what each of these things are. Okay, but I'm just going to kind of hit a general overview of what these are. So intrapersonal awareness involves trying to understand where your own understandings come from, where your belief, your values, and how those actually impact your viewpoints and and what you do. And so the instructor can model this or encourage it among students. Okay, so here's some characteristics of this. Increasing the personal awareness of one's own personal own worldview, critically examine your own ideas, assumptions, values. So when instructors share their own personal background and experience with students, this is what they're doing. They're showing that it's important to reflect on how you came to understand the world the way you have. Okay, so there's a possible idiosyncratic origin elements of viewpoints that may appear to be objective. Okay, so other aspects of this, inviting students to provide feedback on the instructor's facilitation or academic assessment. Developing awareness of how other beliefs and cultures influence curriculum and pedagogies. Okay, so I won't read all of these, but you'll have the slides so you can study those. So another one of these dimensions is interpersonal awareness, and so when instructor promotes interpersonal awareness, what that means is interactivity. Okay, interactions between people, and so within the class, they create opportunities for interpersonal dialogue, from multiple perspectives, when they invite students to share cultural experiences, and when they validate the student experiences by listening, empathetically. Okay. Also in assisting students in identifying differences and similarities in opinions. Okay. Sometimes I've noticed that syllabi include things about how to how to correctly conduct yourself in a discussion or debate, conflict resolution skills. And so when you provide opportunities for group work, these also count as interpersonal awareness. Okay. All right. Curricular transformation. This one is a little bit tricky because I think that certain departments are going to be better at this than others. Curricular transformation just means changing the curriculum away from the traditional sources, okay, traditional sources of information, okay, from the textbooks and the old tried and true. Those old things are being changed to use something that is maybe more current, more immediate, maybe more personal, and thus more meaningful. So, elements of curricular transformation include, looking at local histories. Now this could mean like actual local history, or I've seen examples of this, for example, when like in criminal justice, when they invite the students as a project to go and talk with a law enforcement officer and get their viewpoints about things. And so this, I would count this as curricular transformation, some kind of alternative way of getting an understanding about a phenomenon. Okay. And so these other ones, incorporating multiculturalism throughout the course content, reflect critically, including local histories. Okay. Okay. So the next two, we've got inclusive pedagogy and inclusive learning environment. So the pedagogy is actually the approach to teaching, whereas the environment is more like just atmospheric issues of the classroom. Okay. So within inclusive pedagogy, this is recognizing students' personal experiences as worthy knowledge, eliciting and building on students' fund of knowledge, invite the students to share their knowledge in multiple ways. When you have collaborative assignments, group work, formative assessments, so this means formative assessments are things that allow the instructor to gauge how well the student is doing so far, like within the course, rather than just something at the end to just kind of judge how they're doing or how they did. A formative assessment is one that lets you maybe adjust the course, including assignments such as life history interviews, personal stories, autobiographical writing, having students debate, student-led discussions, read alouds, experiential learning activities, and then fostering student choice. Okay, so these are pedagogical elements of inclusive excellence. Okay, but there's also the environment. There's the just kind of the atmosphere and the tone of the class. Evidence of inclusive learning environment include things like being supportive, meeting with students outside of class time, demonstrating respect and caring, having an interest in the student's success. So these kinds of things that like pronounce names correctly. Okay, we're not going to be able to do that with this project, but so an effort to learn about students' backgrounds, social identities, and learning styles. Okay, so that all of these things fall under just practices that kind of promote a good learning environment that is both inclusive and excellent. Okay. All right. So what then we're trying to do is to develop a program. I write programs like this. This is part of my research that will, start with a collection of syllabi. Radford has a test bed that we're going to work with, but any university is going to have a database like this. So we're hoping that this will be useful, for lots of people. So we want to take each syllabus then and then produce a scorecard like this. So for each of these 5 dimensions of inclusive excellence, we can say if there is a lot of it in there, or there is a medium amount in there, or if there's little or none in there. So we can kind of create a scorecard for each individual syllabus, and this will enable us to look at things like patterns over time, whether some departments are engaging in this more than others. Okay, but the idea is to go from the unstructured text into something, into a scorecard that we can actually start to do statistics and time series and graphs on. Okay, so then the question is, how do we train a computer to score a syllabus based on its text? And this is where you all come in. So first of all, we need to train it with examples. Okay, so we need lots of samples of text that exemplify each of the key dimensions. So intrapersonal, interpersonal, etc. And then we need to test it, because it's not going to be very useful if it doesn't really correspond to how a human would score these syllabi. So we're going to go through a couple of rounds of training and testing. And hopefully what we wind up with at the end is a very well-trained system that works just as well as a human would judge these. Okay, and so in the future, university administrators don't have to do this again. They can simply run our software and get a good assessment of their own, the state of inclusive excellence in their own environment. Okay. Okay, so last fall, Jeremy and I received this grant from Radford University to hire people who could help us with these things, because they had an interest in this. So these are the funds that we're going to be using to pay. So first of all, the first thing that you'll be paid for is the training. First we want you to watch this video. Obviously, you're watching it already. I'd like for you to read the Salazar paper, which I have sent to you, especially Table 12.1, which is the basis of our 5 dimensions. And then ask us any questions if anything is unclear. And the first phase, and I'll go over the phases in just a minute, is going to be due on May 25th. So let's see, that's 9 days. 9 days from now. Okay, so just an overview of what we're going to be doing. We are going to do 3 different phases. Okay, so the first phase is just collecting those text examples that I talked about. In phase 2, we're gonna do another exercise where we're going to take that collected text, and then we're gonna verify and validate, and I'll say more about that later. And then in phase 3, you're going to be scoring these syllabi, and those scores, we're going to use those as a gold standard against which to judge the computer algorithm. Okay, so but in this first phase, then, what we would like for you to do is we've sent you a zip file that contains, I think it's 130 syllabi, and we want you to read through each syllabus, and then for each syllabus, copy any text that exemplifies any of those 5 dimensions and then paste it into the Word template. So the template that I sent just looks like this. This is all it is it's got these boxes for each of the dimensions, and then all you're going to do is just paste it in there. If you find a sentence, a paragraph, a word, just paste it right there. And this is going to grow and grow and grow. You might have like 12 pages of interpersonal awareness. That's fine. Okay, that's good. As long as they are accurate, then more is better. Okay, so just paste them in there, and then you'll find that some syllabi have a lot, some just have a few, but you have to be attentive and make sure that you don't miss anything. Okay, I'll show you some examples of ones that I came up with. I've gone through maybe 12 so far, and I pasted sentences that I thought fit into these. And so, for example, this one, examine personal attitudes, beliefs, and potential biases impacting one's ability to counsel ethically. So this came from a course on counselor education. And so you see that, since intrapersonal awareness involves that self-examination, understanding your own beliefs and biases, that to me showed that the content of the course is getting into intrapersonal awareness. Let's see. Okay, there was an objective on one syllabus that said explain the social or cultural factors that shape individuals' ideas and behavior. Again, this is examination and understanding where these ideas come from. Okay, and there's some more. Under interpersonal awareness, I found that here's something that says skill development will be critiqued by peer and instructor review of live and videotaped sessions. Okay, so they're going to be, this class clearly involves some kind of interaction where the students are going to be evaluating each other. Collaborative project. Okay, here's a statement on the syllabus that says this classroom will be a place for a diversity of views. Points will be discussed in a reasonable, intelligent, non-argumentative way. Okay, so there again is, nice examples of helping students with this interpersonal side. Okay, so curricular transformation. Demonstrate an understanding of the participants from diverse backgrounds in sport and exercise. This was in the sports department. To further acquaint the student with the sport management environment, this project takes the student into the field on their own to interview one manager, owner, etc., in an area of special interest. Okay, so I would call this a local history. That is, instead of just using like a textbook or an academic article, this is finding, a voice out in the community and talking to them. So this satisfies the criteria of curricular transformation. So inclusive pedagogy. So I just read one of these at random. Also, students who consistently make meaningful contributions to class discussion. So encouraging students to interact. Here's that formative assessment, right? The journal entry. This course will integrate discussions, lectures, readings, and structured lab sessions, dialogue and debate. So this pedagogy, so the actual instructional practices here are showing these inclusive excellence. Okay, and then finally, the inclusive learning environment, that is setting the tone or creating an environment that actually is conducive to both excellence and inclusivity. Students are encouraged to meet with me during office hours or by phone. Okay, so there's meeting outside of class time. One instructor put hooray on their syllabus involving the student success in the course. So and showing concern for the students, any kind of difficulties that they may be having. This text appeared on a syllabus. In addition to anticipating course-specific problems, we all experience routine problems in life. These may involve our health, relationship, finances, or other stressors. It is important to deal with these issues without neglecting so on and so forth. Okay, so some acknowledgments that the students are going to have some difficulties that may impact their success. Okay, so these are things, again, just like you, I started with the same set and Jeremy started with the same set. We're all going to do the same set so that we can make sure that we agree. And we're going to collect all this text. I'm going to take it, and then we're going to go on to phase 2. But we need to examine, make sure that we agree on what things are. And if we don't, we may have to resettle, revise our definitions and go back and do some other work. Okay, so your first task then is learning, reading, copying, and pasting. Okay, so that's the research end of it. And please let me know if you have any questions about that over email. But so as far as like the administrative rules, so the deal is that we anticipate that all told, this is going to take about 60 hours per person. So I guess we've allocated $600 per person for the entirety of the project. But due to HR constraints, we ask that you record the hours on your time card in this way. So next week, May 19th, May 25th, just record that you did 20. If phase 1 task only took you 8 hours, whatever, just record 20. And the same for the following week and the week after that. So we have until June 8th to have the work complete. We're getting a little bit of a late start. It's possible that as of June 8th, we'll have only completed 15 hours. but those will be the recorded hours, and that's what you'll be paid for. And we may have to extend the work, but please keep track of the work that you're doing, and don't go over 60 hours of total time for this project. Okay, so we may take less, but definitely if a task involves going over that, then don't do this. Just let us know. Okay, and so again, the due date for that phase 1, that is reading the syllabi, taking the exemplary text snippets of each of those dimensions, and then putting them in that Word document, and then just save it and then email it to me, rgruss@Radford. Okay, and that's midnight on May 25th. Okay, all right, welcome. I hope this winds up being something that is useful and helps reveal some nice insights and helps improve not only Radford but a whole bunch of other universities as well. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.